Welcome to our third networking night. It's so exciting to see everybody here again. Lots of familiar faces and still some new faces, which is awesome. So for those new faces, just some introductions that I did forget to do on our first night, so I've remembered since. So I'm Phoebe. We have Jake somewhere. Oh, Jake in the back. He's our removalist, numbers guy / husband. We've got Cody, who's our digital content guy / brother-in-law. And then we've got our stylists here as well. We've got Candy and Janessa as well here. Cassie as well, she's not here tonight. But if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask any of us. Just some quick housekeeping. Toilets are just straight through there. Our number 1 warehouse is open. Go through, don't wait for an invitation. You're welcome to have a look through. Janessa's put on an amazing dessert grazing table tonight, which most of you already found, but she'll be topping it back up. And thankfully Krispy Kreme's just opened up around the corner. So our networking series, basically we've designed the entire series to help inspire, educate and help us learn from each other. It's a time where we can give ourselves some dedicated time to help learn from each other and really take heart in knowing that we're not alone in tackling all of the difficulties that can come with owning a small business. As a business, we're trying to break down the barriers of secrecy that do exist in our industry. I think it's really well summed up in the in the event booklet that you have, the quote, that it is literally true that you can succeed best and quickest by helping others to succeed. So with that in mind, let's talk about tonight. I've been so excited about tonight's session. Every time I attend a consult alongside an agent, I learn so much. Whether or not it's how to refine my pitch, how to nurture a lead and really look after a client relationship, or even better, how to better sell property styling, I leave totally inspired. So I can explain to a client how to position furniture, why it's critical to position furniture in a way for first impressions, for photography. I can give them numbers, I can give them our success stories. But when I sit there and I listen to the way a real estate agent talks to a client about us and about styling and the value that we can bring to a sales campaign, I'm blown away every time. I learn different ways, ways of phrasing it, different ways of approaching it for a client. So that's what I wanted to share with everyone tonight. We are really fortunate tonight to have 2 of our amazingly supportive agents to come here and do a Q&A panel for us. Together, we've styled over 100 properties for these agents over the last 2 years. First up, we have Jess. So, she's also a mum of 2 and started her career in 2015 south side of Brisbane. And 2 years ago, she started her own agency, Buying Property Agents. You've had experience from all levels, 200,000 up to 2 million. So really excited to have you here.
Thank you very much.
And you can take a seat. Yeah. And then we have Will Torres. So Will, as one of Queensland's top sales agents, he launched Torres Property 15 months ago, and since then he has sold over $117 million worth of property. Now with a staff of 15, doing amazing things. So awesome that you could be here tonight. Thank you so much. All right, so the way that I was hoping tonight would go, be a bit of an informal chat, Q&A, open up to the floor. So because no one likes to be the person that asks the first question, I thought I'd do that. That's all my paper that was organised. All right, so basically, when I attend a consult, most of the time, when you guys are sending us through leads, the client's already convinced. Right, so you do most of the hard yards for us. And then I go in and I do the quote, do the chat, all that sort of thing. But the aha moment for the client, it's already happened. So the question, the conversation that you're having with the clients to get them across the line, is it an actual, do you see phrases that work time and time again, or is it literally the trust relationship that exists there already for you?
Look, I'm probably not that great with words and dialogue or anything like that, so I very much go with how I'm feeling, but also really what I feel the client needs, but also what's going to really best represent their property and get the best price. So I think a lot of owners are really educated now these days, and they kind of expect it's going to be brought up, like do you stage, do you not? But I personally staged when I've sold before, and I'm just such a true believer that it does work. So it's kind of quite a natural conversation that just comes up,
Yeah.
and that I believe it would get them more money, and then I give examples of what I've done.
Yeah.
That's a good question, Phoebe. With my presentations, I go through a structure. So I start from pretty much, market, and presentations are always in my structure. So I always, how are you, buddy? Here you go. So there's a structure. So I always, with presentation, I always add in styling.
Yeah.
It's mandatory for me and all of my properties, and I recommend it. And the way I use it is I always make we're affiliated with a styling company that works in conjunction with Torres Property, and that's what I do to sort of really sell the stylists to come in and style or give a consultation to my clients, because I think it does make a difference in the value of the property.
So for your clients, it's perceived that we're part of the team.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
100%. For me, I always go on that structure and I add that presentation in just to reiterate that it's part of the team and part of the service that Torres Property provides.
All right. So when I've been to consults with you, I should really open up to the floor, but I'm going to extend on it. When I've been, for you example, Will, we've had clients where you've said, look, let's do the styling rather than recarpeting. That's better return on investment. Let's style rather than repainting an investment property because return on investment for you and modernising, it's going to be better. When you have phrases like that, do you find something, return on investment, obviously catchphrase, or it's just client-based change?
It's both. I think it's both, definitely. I get questions a lot where people say, should I renovate kitchens or bathrooms and invest 10, 15, 25 here and there? And I say to my clients, and this is the line I use, is I say to them, you can modernise this property without having to spend tens of thousands of dollars in doing those renovations by getting the stylist coming in and dressing it up and hiding all of those extra things that need to be renovated. Because buyers aren't looking at what's under their feet, they're looking at what's ahead of them.
We say distract. All right, so does anybody have any questions that they'd like to ask Will or Jess? Donna, I'm going to repeat your question, so if you want to...
Cool, you have 2 mics. Well, shall I shout? Okay.
Sure.
Thanks, Will and Jessica, for coming tonight. Great to see you out. My question is, as a startup company, what would be the do's and don'ts for me approaching agents?
Do we think this? Can you all be up?
It's more for,
The video?
yeah, and the live, yeah.
I think potentially call before you turn up. I've had only a few people have turned up, and not that that's inappropriate, but I know that sometimes I can't give them the time or day. But I think also like how we came across Phoebe and her company was I asked a few recommendations around the real estate community, but also we watched a lot of her Facebook, Instagram posts too. So it's probably maybe having a passive introduction first and then maybe calling the agent and just saying, do you have 5 minutes? Can I pop around? But I really would say give a discount. Like, I'm not sure about Will, but I know sometimes if there's an incentive, particularly if it's going to save my sellers money, I'd be like, hey, there's this great company, look at Instagram, look at Facebook, but also they're doing a special at the moment. They're going to do a package half price. So maybe do an incentive to first get on board.
So we haven't done half price.
I think you've offered it to us in that quieter period, an extra couple of weeks for free.
Yeah, absolutely. So 8 weeks.
Half price, but some sort of incentive. Sorry, I'm throwing you under the bus.
No. And then, so for example, repeat agents will do a free bedroom, but we have flexibility because we own our own stock.
So just in saying that, Phoebe's been fabulous where I've had owners that money might be quite tight, and I've gone back to her and just say, look, it's probably a little bit more, she's often throwing in things for free, or she's swapped rooms for various items and spread it out, and that's been incredibly beneficial. And then a lot of the times the owners come back to me after they've actually seen the truck roll in, not just one person getting out, it's a number of people getting out, and they're like, we actually feel bad now asking for a discount. So
it's all about communication,
customer
and
service.
so when we're changing price, it's changing armchairs to occasional armless chairs. It's switching bits and pieces around and explaining that to the clients that it's a perceived discount, but it's changing bits and pieces from optimal to something that's still going to be beautiful, but just a bit different.
I would agree with Jess, I think, with everything she said. So for me, it's always been, with every stylist I work with, is communication, relationships, and I'll sell you to any seller. As long as I feel that there's the trust there and the relationship and the communication, you don't need to worry. I'll get the details. I'll say to my client, this person, this stylist will be calling you. Just be prepared on their call, just as long as it's being communicated. That's what's important for me, because it's a service. Discounts and stuff like that, I don't talk about that. I don't think I've ever done anything like that. Sorry, Jess. Now I'm throwing you under the bus. Sorry. But no, I don't. For me, it's about having just that relationship and knowing that they can trust me. And I don't see myself as a real estate agent. I see myself as an advisor, because they're asking for my advice and what's going to get them maximum price.
So Donna, with your question, because we were talking about it before we started, so approaching agents for the very first time, yeah? So I've seen it thrown around, approaching you at an open home, coming up and saying hi at an open home, yes or no? How do you feel about that?
If it was a quiet open home, maybe, but at an open home, I really want to focus my attention on the buyer and represent my seller in that way. So I wouldn't be able to give you the time of day if you came to an open home. I think it would probably be better if you could, literally send through maybe email, phone call first, and then just say, look, do you have 5 minutes? We've got this wonderful special, 2 weeks free, that we would like to, show you our work.
With the opens, I would say yes. Sorry, playing devil's advocate here. But the reason why I would say yes is not to have a conversation about the styling, but I guess just introduce yourself, see what styling is there, starting out your business, getting an idea of who is the stylist, and I guess then introducing yourself very briefly to the agent, handing out a card and saying, hey, I'm a stylist for so-and-so, or my business. I'm just having a quick look around. That's it. And then, and most agents and good agents will ring you for feedback on the property, and then you can give your 2 cents on what you think of the property, and then have that conversation while he or she is doing the feedback for the client, to find out what the feedback is and what you thought of the home.
Yeah, that's great. That's going to change my insight.
You're going to be swamped at your open homes on Saturday. Cool. Anyone else? No? All right, so I had pre-prepared some questions earlier. Thoughts on virtual staging?
I don't like it.
I do it. And I'll just give you some examples. I try and stage most of our houses, but just recently I've got a couple of investors coming to me that they need to sell their units because the unit market has dropped and they're currently tenanted. So we have a strategy where we say to the owner, and please use this, we say to the owner, look, with the tenant's consent, we will pay for a removalist to physically move all their furniture into one of the bedrooms. Then we get our photographer to come in, take the photos, and then we put in the virtual furniture. So again, I would do this probably at a price point, like this is for more of that entry buying units, that 200,000, 300,000, 400,000 that is tenanted and the client needs to have it sold. So that's the time I'm using virtual furniture for that purpose too. And it gets people, from my experience, in the door. It's gotten a lot better, but we use it as a backup option. We will always try and get it staged because it's all about that emotion when people walk in and fall in love with the furniture, although they think it comes from a place it doesn't, but they fall in love with it. So I use it on select times, and it's generally the evenings.
At what stage, what was like the trigger point for both of you when you went, nah, we're styling homes from now on, we're not like yourself, we're not listing unless it's been styled? Or you like, it's absolutely necessary?
What was that penny drop there?
The penny drop for me was, I think, the difference of what I saw. I had an experience where there was a property on the market and it wasn't styled, and I saw what we achieved for the price, and I was a little bit sort of confused why we got such a low price. And then we had another property which was a mirror image, and we did style it, and we got, I think it was like $45,000 more, and that was just the deal breaker for me. Like where I was just like, I'm now styling everything, and I'm converted. So yeah, from there I've been preaching it ever since, and that's why, coming back to the question about, you know, having those relationships with stylists, for me, I can sell it. I know that I can sell a stylist to someone, because when you're selling third party, it's so easy. Because when you're selling yourself and you're saying, I'm number one and I do this, people don't care about that. But when you're selling someone else and you're selling that you can get the best price for them, they will listen. Yeah. So
it was the whole being able to get the client that extra.
Absolutely.
As well. Yeah.
After that, I used that case study many times to a lot of my clients, and I actually had before and after photos as well, which make a big difference, because visual does work as well.
And you find that it's increased, sorry.
That's okay.
Do you find like it's increased your level of business?
Absolutely.
As well?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Definitely. I think I've had people, maybe Phoebe, you may have mentioned this, people have said, who does Will Torres use for his styling? So, because it just makes such a big difference in the way it looks online.
I'm probably quite new to the styling of homes. I've done a trickle over the years, and I've done them for quite, I guess, special properties, but as what Phoebe was saying, this is like my 14th year, but I sell all different levels of properties. Like, I don't have one particular property, but I personally sold just a cheap investment property of mine last year, and I didn't want to renovate it. I did the bare basics, but I knew I had to go with really luxurious styling, which I did, and truly that got me such a dramatically higher price than I expected. And I had done a few before on other people's properties, but that just convinced me that firsthand it absolutely does. And we also track how, when we style a property, on how quickly we sell it. So 1 to 3 weeks, I've always got a property under contract that's styled. And on other properties, it might actually take twice that too. But yeah, that was my main thing from personal experience, but also buyers are very well educated in this market now. And I think sometimes they're a bit time poor, but they can't imagine a property without having the furniture in there. And so again, it's all that emotional thing. They're falling in love with the property based on the furniture too. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Cool.
I've got to add something. In my presentations, what I say, sorry, take them off. In my presentations, when I'm having conversations with sellers, and then we're talking about the presentation and everything, you know, we've all, in our lifetime, we've always seen the block, right? And they walk into this room, they're doing rooms week, and there's shit everywhere, right? Sorry. But there's like a mustard coloured wall, there's like old carpet, or it's really old. They rip it up, they put new carpet down, they paint it, new light fittings. 3 judges walk in and they say, oh, look what Phoebe and Jake just did. Love the painting. Look at the colour, the contrast just comes out, brings this whole room to life. And I'm thinking, mate, they're not buying the painting, they're buying the entire house, the entire room. So that's something that I role play with my sellers. And I tell them that, and they go, you know what, that's so true, because that's what they do in these renovation shows.
We owe a lot to the block as an industry. The more that those shows have come on board, the more styling's been accepted.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I can see why you role play it. You do it so well. Any other questions? All right, another one that Grace, go for it. That's why we're doing it.
When you're talking to a client, have you found, it's a bit of a random question, but is there like a ceiling for how much they are willing to spend before you have to try and push them to the next level? Is that something that you broach, or is that, or what, Phoebe, you pass on to Phoebe? So, for example, you've got a client and you're trying to sell them the benefits of staging, but you know that it's going to come to about, say, $6,000, but that you know that that's the next ceiling point for you, or things like that, or generally most people are comfortable about the 3. Have you found that there's like that, I suppose, like a ceiling on what is generally they're comfortable with?
I think for us probably always sit in that maybe high 3,000 range, but again, it will vary too. From my experience, most owners are comfortable to invest that amount of money too. I think Phoebe's done, like, I had a sale at 1.9, and I can't even remember what it was. It might have been like Baruda.
Yeah, that was mid-threes. I think it almost came to 3 to 3.5 to 4.
They are very well priced. Foxy Home, very well priced, but I find I've used other companies where it is quite a bit higher, and that's where I've had hesitation too. So I find at that, between the sort of 3.5 to 4, it's accepted. But again, I think a lot of owners are now looking at selling with the thought already in their mind, do we need to stage? I think we're going to be asked about that. And they already have a pre-thought about pricing. That's just from my experience.
So that's adjusting things, doing master bedrooms only. We do a lot of partial styling for Jess. Just working in with the client more so.
For myself, I was trying to think. What was the question? Oh, the price range. I give a range. So I give a range between sort of, I say, 3.5 to 5.5. But I don't get into conversations about pricing. So I then pass it on to Phoebe or any of the stylists that we recommend. So I never really give a firm price, because I'm focused more on making sure that the presentation, I'm really emphasising that, not really focusing so much on the price, because I know that's can always be a deal breaker for some sellers, especially if they're working to a budget as well. So I let the stylists come in and work their magic and do what they need to do. But I always find that most clients come back, like sellers come back to me and ask me and say, oh, what do you think of this and that, and should we go ahead with it? And I'm always like, yes, you need to, absolutely.
Another question. Is there a point where the two of you would be at a house and go, okay, I need to use a certain stylist because of the price of the property that it's going to sell for? Or is Phoebe and Jake's company well-rounded to style any sort of price point property?
Yeah, I would definitely look at all stylists for me. It's just, that's my personal thing. So yeah, I would look at, because there's different stylists and different furnitures that I've seen. So I would definitely look at other stylists as well. Yeah.
I have looked at other stylists, but I've really found I pretty much exclusively go with Phoebe now, but I think Will and I do it a little bit differently. I will sort of talk to the owner about the styling first and ring Phoebe for a quote and tell them that way. So I sort of have a budget already that I know they're willing to spend and do it. But again, I would just ring Phoebe and say, look, it's a big old Queenslander, or this is like a huge unit, like a 2-bedroom unit, it's huge. And I just then leave it actually up to her to decide on all of it. But yeah, that's on to exclusively.
No, but you do work differently though, because the discussion, I send the quote through to you, everything's through you. When I'm dealing with Will, it's direct with the client. But we've seen, like Marion, Tailored Home Styling does a lot of properties with Will as well. We've got completely different style furniture pieces, like we've got overlap, but the properties that we style, the end point is different. So we work in combination. So, cool. All right. So can you describe a home to us that doesn't need styling? Because we would say every home needs to be styled. Everyone can benefit from styling in some form, right? So can you describe for us a home that you believe doesn't need styling?
Experienced sellers, where they've purely done up the home for, if that's a business, like, you know, rebuilds or renovations, but they've sold time and time again where they've literally got the furniture already. That's what I've come up with a couple of times too. Yeah, but that's truly the only time I would say. It's when someone who's potentially in the industry, or they've had a lot of experience where they've had it done before and then they just mimicked it. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, that's easy. That makes that question really quick. Cool. All right. So, yeah, Leah.
It just reminds me of I went to Mullaney up on the Sunshine Coast, and without fail, every one of them said no, but they weren't used to styling. One of them said, "Oh no, our clients have beautiful furniture. We don't need you. We have about 150 days average on the market." I'm going, okay, that was really interesting.
It's received differently everywhere.
It is just
Yeah. It's styling is making its way,
Absolutely.
received much better than CBD. And
Yes.
outreach, and it's making its way.
We've since styled a couple of homes in the
Yeah. Donna?
This is a question on an experience I've just had with a real estate agent. So like I said, I'm new to the industry. I'm working with one agent. So I approached another agent. He sold a house on the street that I lived, rang him up, say, congratulations on the sale. Just wanted to let you know I'm new to the industry. If you ever, want a quote, because I've looked at him online. I know that he's the principal. I know that most of them are youth stylists. So he said, yeah, great. He goes, I'll give you a call. And I was like, yeah, okay. Anyway, a couple of weeks later, he said, yeah, I'm getting this house. I'll give you a call when I get it. And a couple of weeks later, I hadn't heard anything. So I rang him and I said, hi, it's Donna. How you going? Did you get the house? And he goes, yeah, I did. They're just having it painted outside. I'll ring you tomorrow. I was like, yeah, it's probably just following me on because he has a million calls. He rang me and I went to the property. I was so nervous. He was like following me around like a little lost sheep. And this house is massive and they just wanted, so a big, I was telling Phoebe earlier, a big area stage and a master bedroom. So he said to me, ballpark, and I'm very new to the industry, right? So ballpark, top of your head, how much you think? And I was going, Christ, I don't know, 3-ish probably. Around 3-ish, because it was living room, dining room, study, another living area, and a master bedroom and bathroom. So I said, maybe about 3-ish. He said, well, I can get it done for 2. And I said, well, to be fair, if you can get it done for 2, that's great. I cannot get anywhere near 2 for that, because I have to third-party hire, some of my stock. So I said, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll go home and I'll get you the quote tomorrow anyway. So a week later, he rang me. And he said, we did get another stylist in to get a quote, and there was $50 in it. And I was like, okay. So now he knows that there was $50 in it. I didn't get the job, which I was sort of happy about because I've had shoulder surgery, so I couldn't really do it anyway. But so he knows I was $50 in it, and I think he said the stylist was offering 8 weeks rather than 6, so I'm tied by the third-party hire again. So my question is, how quickly do you think I should ring him back? Say, hey, do you remember me? Anything else coming up? Because that's probably about 3 weeks. So he knows that I'm in the ballpark. He's had a look at my website. He's had a look at my work that I've already done. So, yeah, how soon do you think I should ring him and say, hey, anything else coming up that you'd like me to quote on?
Did he sell that property that was staged? Like,
I don't know whether it's sold. I know that they wanted a lot of money for it. It wasn't sold a week ago. I didn't have under contract.
Under contract?
So.
I would just ring him and say, have you sold it? So I would try and find out some stats for yourself, and then very politely, like if it hasn't sold, maybe just say, perhaps we might need to use some different furniture, and that's where your value is, why you're different, like why you're a bit more of a higher cost. Maybe just approach it that way initially to see, and then you can justify why you do actually have to mark up your price too.
I was very honest with you.
Yeah, of course.
I would just keep following up. Absolutely. us as real estate agents, we prospect, like, I make about 50 calls every single day, every day. I need people chasing me up if they want business from me. So, you know, otherwise I'm not really chasing other stylists up if I've already built that relationship. And I need that consistent follow-up to remind me, like, you know, mortgage brokers. And I've had this conversation with mortgage brokers, anyone starting a business. I'm like, you want me to refer your business? You need to be contacting me and asking me for the business. Otherwise, I'm going to forget about you because I'm chasing my prospects, my clients. I've got 50 calls to make. I've got 100 calls to make a day religiously. So I'm not really going to be chasing mortgage brokers up.
That's great, Will, because I was a bit hesitant of, oh my God, I don't want to be seen as this desperate new starter. So that's great advice. I will take that on board, definitely.
If you show that you're hungry and you really want it and you become vulnerable and you're asking for help, they will help you. Because there's good people in this world and they will see that you really want it. First time when Phoebe came and approached me when I was at Place, prior to starting my agency, I could see that she really wanted it and she would do whatever she needed to do to get my business. And I could see it in her eyes. When we sat down face to face, we were in that conference room at Place, and you were like, well, I'll do it. And it wasn't, I'm going to offer you a discount, I'm going to offer you 8 weeks. It was none of that. It was just, I really want it. Give me a hand. Give me a shot. And someone a long time ago gave me a shot. And this is where I am because of that. And I think it's the same thing with you guys. It's not coming across desperate. It's just you asking for the business and showing that you want it. But at the same time, there is a fine line. You don't want to overstep it where you're not calling every day or every week, but at least every, fortnight to say, hey, I'm here, just letting you know I'm here. And that's what I do on a constant basis. We all run businesses. I run my own business and I'm ringing these clients a fortnight. I'm asking for their permission. And when you ring, it's a little bit of prospecting. When you ring these agents, ask them, when is it okay for me to call you back? 2 weeks, 1 month, 6 weeks, 8 weeks? When would be a good time to come back to you and see how you're traveling? Oh, you know what? Call me in give me 2 weeks. Done. And that's what I do with my clients when I'm asking them, when is it okay when I can come back to you and give you a call?
Thank you.
Make sure you do it.
I will.
Do it on the 2 week, like you call.
Yeah, I will.
Yeah.
You can ring me and check me.
Yeah.
Do it.
So the story that I tell when I talk about cold calls, because we ask all the time how we started out, and I made call after call after call, and the story that I say, one agent that I met with and met with in the July, and then got a job like 2 weeks later, and then that October we did 25. That's what. So it was pure. It was calling. And I think the day that I called, well, I would have called at least another 25 agents that day, and we'll call back. And then communication and reliability for you. I need to. Yeah.
I call back anyone who calls me. I call them back, even if you don't leave a voice message. It's in my DNA. It's I don't know what it is. It's just it's so programmed in my mindset that even a missed call. And I remember Phoebe was doing Castledine. That's where you were staging. I think it was like those sort of areas. Was it Castledine? Like before?
I really hadn't established myself
too
much.
But she was, because I remember asking her, I said, where have you styled? Like, where do you stage? And she was like, oh, Castledine. I've got a bit of an elephant memory, sorry. But I just remember it was something like that. And then I don't know, it was somewhere far where I haven't heard before. But she came in and started like Camp Hill, Carindale, Karina, and she just started to more and more. And then I remember like Alex Rutherford, I think, started using you after I'd used you in 25 style 1 month. You did a lot.
Yeah, in October, some months we right now have. We've got over 40 houses out, so it's worth the cold calls. It's worth following up. But then every single time Will's asked me to do something, I do it. I follow through.
Because that's one thing I wanted to add. With the service, I just provide fabulous service. Because Phoebe, I get shocked over this. I'm normally asleep. When I ring up and ask for a quote, she sends me the quote at like 9 o'clock or 9:30 or 10 o'clock at night. She'd be like, Jess, I'll get to you. I'll get that done to you today. And I'm like, no, tomorrow, the next day is fine. She does it. She puts the kids to bed and then she does it. And as I said, I'm like literally asleep. Like, it's that
I'll
service.
forget if I don't do it.
But even it's when, like, I remember calling you on a Friday and I'm like, I need to have an install on Monday. Can you do it? And it was just, yep, done. And like that was obviously a pressure from our end, but her service has been fantastic. But also all of the team at Foxy, they're just such a pleasure to work with and very easy. Like nothing's a problem.
That was our value add without having to affect price, like without having to bring down our pricing, without having to discount, without having to do half price installs. That's our value add, and that's what's important when you're starting out to find the value, where you can add that value without having to discount. But it's not about us, it's about stylists. So, social media. Oh no, Leanne.
Sorry,
you go.
just before we continue, with your cold calls to real estate agents, do you talk to the receptionist or do you actually pinpoint each agent
I
in
talk
that
to the
agency?
agent. To the agent.
So you look online, you find the agency and you see their team and you call each one in the team?
Yep,
Okay.
and I record it. I know Jess's kids, I know her EA, I know Mitch, everything. I know she went to the snow because I'm a bit of a social media stalker. Like, it's really important, the client relation side of things. I hopped off the phone and told everyone how scared of heights you are. So, like, the client, just having that conversation straight off the bat. And to be honest, this is the first time I've met Jess. I've never met Jess face to face. Never. So, she's met the team, but I met Kirsty, her EA, but I've never met Jess. And that's thanks to social media. Yeah. So, sorry. Go, Kim.
When you made this one, how much stock did you have yourself? Did you have very little back then, or did you own
we hire to fill our gaps, and we've just gradually gotten bigger and bigger. But the thing with the difference in the properties that Will and Jess can bring us, that we did one for Will in the street. It was an old style property. It needed old style stock, like old style. We don't have any of that, so that's where we use higher stock to fill, because you can't dress it up as a lamb. Yeah. So it's had a great outcome. Lots of partials. So we just build our stock as we go. Yeah. So
you were hiring then?
Yeah. But we wanted more control, so that's when we started buying our stock.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's okay. I'll answer that in more later for you. Question: social media. You do a bit. Torres Property doesn't do so much. Yeah. Kirsty does an amazing job. So we obviously do a lot of social media, and hand in hand, I think, like real estate agents, property styling, we have a very similar audience. So, do you see the value to start with? In targeting potential buyers, potential sellers, and moving forward, will you be embracing it, using it more? Can you see it using it more, basically?
From my experience, like, I don't do a lot of it. Kirsty, my assistant, actually does a lot of our posts, and we're a very small boutique agency. Like, it's just myself that sells. Like, we're very small. But excuse me, I've actually had a couple of properties referred to me from like social forum, like on Facebook, like community groups, where like the local hairdresser had said, go with Jessica from Vine Property down the road. And like, I was blown away. I'm like, I've met this lady once for 5 minutes and she's put my name out there, and then I've got other people doing that. So it's probably an area that I haven't focused on a lot, but I'm trying to do that. So yeah, absolutely, it's an area where you can get more. But it's what we said, we started, well, Kirsty did, we kind of stalked your Instagram and Facebook and got familiar with it. And I think we already had made a decision just by looking at you first before actually contacting you that we liked it. And then once we spoke to you, it's just easy. Yeah. That's right.
That was good. For me, yes, I need to do more social media, and I don't do enough of it. But I would say for anyone starting a business, perception is greater than reality. So I would definitely say for you to get onto the social media scene, get out there, really put a lot of contents out there, about your styling. Hey, even if it's the same property and you do posts over the next 7 days and they look like different angles and maybe different areas of the home, it might look like you staged 7 properties. You don't have to be putting down the address, just talk about one particular item, because it will then breed confidence from other agents and other people that are looking at your social media page, especially if you need to get, started.
Mandy?
Hi, I'm Mandy from Maycloud, and I'm just wondering, what is the one thing that will change your mind on keeping a particular stylist?
I'm going to take very particular attention to this answer.
I'm probably, no, I don't want to say I'm stuck in my ways, but when I like something, I stick with it. But again, it's all about that service. I think you'd probably have to really win me over. Not win me over, that's probably the wrong thing, but when...
We find that when an agent starts using other stylists, we find when someone reaches out to us, their existing stylist hasn't been able to do the install the next day. They haven't delivered on their word. It's basically they're getting too busy.
Yeah.
Generally, that's what we're finding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think also for what I really, and I know I've repeated myself, so apologies about that, but it was the value for money which Foxy was be able to provide too. And as I said, I do sell properties of all different price point, but a lot of the properties that we're staging are more the houses, and they're selling as cheap as mid-5s to over $1 million. But I just found I couldn't fault their service. It was quick. It was like that. So would I change? Maybe not at the moment, but certainly I would be.
So much looking into
No. It's a good question.
Yeah, it's a tricky one, and I don't have the right answer for that. I probably need to think more what I do. So I'm going to hand it over to you.
Thanks, Jess. Communication. That's it. No deals, no free staging and stuff like that. I mean, Phoebe's offered me some of the time, like sometimes, I think not a lot, very few, when it was like, oh, we'll do 8 weeks instead of 6 weeks for like...
It's only during winter. During winter we offer.
During winter. And it was like for a month. And I was like, oh, I didn't even ask for it. But for me, that's it. I mean, because I know I'm a good communicator with my clients, and you need to be in real estate. I mean, how many people actually, when you go to open homes, how many agents actually ring you back? I'm sure 70% of you will probably go, don't hear from the agent after I've gone to the open. You'll hear from me on a Sunday after you come through on a Saturday. But that's just my work ethic. So I would say that's it, communication. Yeah.
Jake was waving his hand before. Are you waving at me or waving because I'm time, or you want a question? No, none? Okay, good. Cool. All right. So, any other questions? I'm running out of questions myself. I was hoping there'd be more. All right. So, do we just want to wrap it up then? Thank you so much for coming. It's been... the support has been great. Thank you so much. We've recorded it all, so any other questions? No, we're done. All right.
Can I have one suggestion?
Yeah.
This lady here, when you were talking about you're new to the industry, again, I don't do a lot of this, but I've been told to do it. But take lots of photos now tonight and then post it all over your Instagram and just say, been to this amazing styling event, so again, it's showing that you're networking, you're out, and that you are a stylist and you do this. So yeah, take lots of photos now.
That's a great idea.
Happy thanks. Henry. There's a question up the back there. Henry, what would you like to say?
The elephant in the room.
Oh, what's that? I don't know.
Home staging with the fees. There is a race to the bottom. And I'm sure everyone is agreeing with the race to the bottom with cutting fees. With respect to outsourcing furniture, you can't actually discount on furniture hire. So what you're actually requesting as an agent is the stylist to take a hit on their time for dollars. Now behind the scenes, a day to select, a day to install, a day to pack, and a $500, maybe a $1,000 fee on top of what they've charged the client for the furniture. So the elephant in the room is how much lower can they go to get the business? And my question is, do you ever offer a discount on your commission to get the staging over the line so that the stylist actually can put food on their table?
That is a really good question, because truly I didn't pick up there was an elephant in the room. Sometimes I'm a little bit slower with those things. No, but when I said before about a client asking for a discount with Phoebe, I think that's probably happened like once, two. But when I keep referring that Phoebe's pricing is really affordable, but it's probably coming that the people that I'm dealing with at the moment have got targets they've got to meet financially as well too. So I've never gone and said, can you drop your fee by this and that? But
discount isn't the word I'd use.
Yeah,
it's like I said, I've changed it up. I've gone from armchairs to armless. It is a switch out of furniture.
Yeah.
I've presented ideal quote front up. Can we adjust it, please? The budget's a bit too high. That's not a worry. We'll switch it out. But just as long as you're aware, it's not our ideal scenario.
Yeah.
Our percentage on top, generally, Jake can correct me, 30% on top, non-negotiable of our higher fees. We base that off our higher costs at the start and non-negotiable on price from day one. So that was really important for us. And like I said, all our value adds have come in, flexibility, payment terms. For a client to extend their payment terms, that's done at a premium. We don't do it at the same price. So all that sort of thing, it's not discounting. Discount's not the word I'd use, but you're unaware of that.
Yeah.
I suppose I'm just looking at the inequity of it all. $1 million home, a $30,000 commission to the agent, and $500 to the stylist, and the stylist's work has got you the commission.
I'll answer a couple of things.
Yeah.
30,000, that's based on a 3% commission too. As I said, I'm a very small agent, but commission is flexible. I wouldn't actually charge 30,000. I would charge quite a bit lower than that. Look, and I'm full happy to disclose that my commission rate will vary depending on price point, but anywhere from 2.2% inclusive of GST, maximum up to a 3% at times, but on average it would be about that 2.5. Now, I'm not sure about Will, but of course I have discounted commission. I'm open to it, but 80% of my work is past clients and referrals. You know, they come to me, but I really look after them on their fee. I want everyone to have very much a fair outcome financially too. So for me, it's not about the commission. Yes, I've got a family, I've got a feed, but it's truly getting the best result for my client, but making it at a price point that they're comfortable too.
We're all here to support stylists, right? We're all very different. There's, boxes of their own stations, furniture and whatnot. I was lush, didn't have my own, we've used her own. With Anne-Marie, she's got her own. It's very different for everyone. I think what maybe we all kind of want to know is that, like, how are the agents supporting the styling industry, maybe? Or how can we trust the agents that they're going to use a variety of styles and not just, of course we love the Foxy, but as the other agent said, thank you, use different stylists for different properties. I think that for the variety, kind of want to know that we have support from multiple agents. And I think if you're in the agency realm, you want to be referring to other agents, talking to other agents.
I can understand that. The true reason I've stuck with Phoebe is that I had someone in the past, beautiful furniture, like you could not fault that, but I'd ring up and it was always a wait period. So that was what it was. And I'm a lot of times with my business, I'll have someone ring me up and say, can you come over tomorrow, I want to sell. So sometimes you know what's happening in the future, but a lot of times it happens very quickly. So then you've got to go and ring the suppliers and say, look, I've only just got this today. They want to start, in 2 days' time. Are you able to stage it? So that's just why.
On that though, and I appreciate that, I really do. I don't know who people do in the industry, but having a broad view of how we all work, for myself, I was never able to do this now, bring a 48-hour turnaround. I don't know how you guys are doing it, but I think I want to know as a stylist that you're not just sort of styling as a $3,800 package. That's a 2-day turnaround. We're all helping each other. All agents have a variety, like a wide view.
Yes.
That styling is not that easy, or it's it's just a variety, like it's a range.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
It does.
We're all just really hard.
Oh, 100%. I mean, for me, and Phoebe mentioned before, Marion from Tailored Home Styling, I've used her before as well. I still use her actively, and I'm happy to say that. And, for me, it's just, if you are making constant communication with me and you're showing me that you want it, and I see that you do really good work, I'm going to use you and I'm going to promote you 100%. That's just that's how I run my business. Everyone runs their business a little different, and I support the stylists, and I'm not hitting them up. Not once am I talking about discount. No way. If the client is sitting in front of Phoebe or Mariam or anyone else that I've used here before and they say, I want a discount, that's up to them, because the clients sit in front of us and they say, can you get a discount off the commission? And do I say no? Yeah, 90% of the time I say no. So, but I never promote that if you go with this stylist, you'll get it at a cheaper rate. No way. But that's me. Pleasure.
I can say on that point, I guess it's evident with the real estate agent that I went to, and he knew I was a starter, so he knows I've only done, a handful of properties. He said to me, you need to do it for $2,000 basically. So
how did he know you were a startup?
I told him.
So you shouldn't have told him.
I guess what I want to do is I want to be authentic and be honest. So I don't want to go, my website doesn't look like a startup.
Did he ask how long you've been in the industry and how many properties you've styled? Did he specifically ask you those questions? Or she?
He probably did.
There. Only tell someone what you want them to know if they ask the question. You don't need to put it out there. Pleasure.
When I had my chat with Will, it was us and the team and we. It was never me. I was just me all the time, but it was us and we. And it's, tell them what they want to hear. Sorry, Will.
The evidence is there. I gave him a ballpark with a mood, terrified at the top of my head. And he goes, I can get it done for 2. And when he came back to me and said, no, you're $50 out. So, there's $1,000 difference there.
Anyone who owns a property, you call an agent in and the agent goes, hey, I've just got into the industry a month ago. I've sold not one property. Can I be your first? What do you think they're going to say? Yeah, sure, if you do it for 1% or 0.5%.
Good point, Will. Thank you, that's a great point.
No, pleasure. I think at the end of the day, yes, to reiterate, Phoebe did come in and she said and we do this and that, and she sold me on it. And I believe, wow, done a lot of styling. As I said, I never saw anything on this side of town, but I did ask her, but she showed that she wanted it, and she followed up and she followed through, and she got the business. And that's why she's got 40-odd properties that she's styled for me in the last month or 2 or whatever.
Cool. All right, Jake.
Sorry, I'm going to turn around. This is the devil's advocate point of view. It's not up to agents in general necessarily to support us to grow our businesses. That's, when you build that relationship, yes, there'll be one-on-one, but as a general comment, it's not up to the real estate agents to build our industry. If an agent comes in and wants to do half price or free, show me what you can do, we're well within our rights to walk away from that. Yeah. It's up to us to show our value. If you're going to undercut yourself, you agree to it, you're doing it to yourself. I think it's up to us to show our value in other ways. Next day installs, better communication, whatever the value is, it's up to us to show that.
100%. You know, like in the industry of real estate agents in Sydney right now, they're cutting their comm. They've dropped it down to 1.5%. They between 1.5 and 1.8%. Now their medium sale price in the city of Sydney is probably about $3-4 million. That's a medium sale price in Sydney. You know, us as agents, you know what? It's not the clients that are cutting their commission. It's the agents that are cutting their commission, and the other ones and the other agents are following because they can't win business. And I mean, I've walked away from people that have gone, I'll do it for 2%, go for it, go with that person. Because I know the value. And hey, look, I mean, yes, from time to time, yes, I'll cut my commission, but I try to do it very, very small amount and try to show them the value that I can add. And really, as Jake was saying, it's not the agent or the client in your business, it's the stylists that keep cutting their costs and everyone follows through so they can keep up with the race or with the pack.
Yeah, because I could have went back to that agent and said, okay, I'll do it for $2,000, but I'm not in the business to drive everybody else down, you know, so I would never do that.
You know,
but I could have gone, yeah, I'll do it for $2 and not made anything on it. So,
no, in Sydney now, agents are pushing 2% commission. They're pushing 2%, they're pushing 2.2, 2.5% commission just to come back up to where it should be. I mean, the standard REIQ rate before it was deregulated in 2014 was 2.75%. And now agents are doing 2% in Brisbane, which is nuts. And it's not the clients, it's the agents that are dropping and then everyone else is following. And I wish that I'm wanting to put something like this for estate agents within Brisbane to keep working together, but keeping our fees high for the value that we add. Not all agents and not all stylists are the same. Me personally, I've sold 120 properties in 1 year. As Phoebe mentioned, 117 million in my first year of opening up Torres Property. And the reason why I say that is at the end of the day, if all agents were the same, they would all be doing the same number of deals, the same number of sales. They don't. Same with stylists, but you've got to know what value you're going to be adding to that and keep it high.
Good to hear that, because there's lots of conversation in our industry about pricing, about undercut, like particularly from southern states. I know in Brisbane too, but the forums listening to what's going on, so it's really interesting to hear that you've got the exact same problem going on. Leanne? No, it's okay.
In the States, the benchmark for staging is 1% of property value. So if it's a $500,000 property, the clients are told to expect to pay $5,000. If it's a $1 million property, they expect to pay up to $10,000. We're not at that stage yet, but we will get there. Last week, I had one client who said, can we have option 2 for option 1 price? I actually responded and said, unfortunately, that's the best price. And the agent, and I copied the agent in, and the agent got back to me within 5 minutes and said, good on you for sticking to your guns. Yeah. I said it nicely, I said it really politely, but that was the best we could do. So I think we need to, I don't know what we need to do. We need to educate
Jake says over and over, people are just addicted to discounts. They are 100%. Yeah. It's worth asking the question. I'd ask the question. If a painter came in, I'd say, can you do it better? Yeah. And I would. So I understand some people ask. Cool. All right, so we might wrap up.